I think it's some minutes to 12. Good morning. We can start. I don't know if there's any. Please, is anybody outside there? Anybody? Are there people? Please, can you just beckon on them to come? Thank you. And to us, virtually on Zoom, good morning also. The class begins right away. Not to sound like a broken record, if your mic is your mic is on while on Zoom camera, if it's on while on Zoom, please kindly help us put it on mute state so that we can minimize interference, distraction from your end. Today, our focus will be on the planning of your project. Yeah, and for those of us physically here, let's start. I've just shared my manual on the platform for project planning. No. We're done with that last week. So I want to show you those things you should include while you are planning your project. Not just those things you should include, I want to show you the techniques also you have to deploy while you try to plan those items for your project. I know very well that even before this class, some of those elements of the project plan, you already have an idea of it. Maybe you already knew, while planning my project, I need to estimate costs, how much each of the activities will cost me. I know you already knew you want to probably develop a schedule so that you can have a document that guides an everyday activity, when they should start, when they will finish. I know you also, probably you're thinking, part of the things I need to include in my project plan is the issue of having a plan for the risk, in terms of identifying them, in terms of doing some level of analysis on them, like wanting to know the likelihood of those risks happening, and wanting to also know the level of impact they could have on your project, if indeed they do happen. You want to also know at the same time what response strategy I want to deploy in responding to any of those risks. So I'm very much aware that if I'm to ask you to write 10 things that you should include in your project plan, tendency are that every one of us will come up with 10 things. But I'm not just going to show you things to include. I'm to show you techniques. When it comes to estimate costs, for example, cost of your activities, what are the options of strategies, of techniques that you can deploy to get that achieved? When it comes to, for example, you want to define your project scope, what are the options of strategy? So please, as we go on that, please let's pay attention. My manager has asked me not to stay beyond 1 hour. I'm sorry, 1:15. That is between now and 1:15 that I should run out of the class, because there's another class happening and all that. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Amadi, so we'll begin. Let's talk about the plan. They say, if you fail to plan, what happens? What that means to me is not having a plan is a plan. It means if you don't have a plan, you already have a plan, and the plan you have is to fail. You understand? So not having a plan is a plan, and that is a plan to fail. You understand? I've had another very common saying that if you have a good plan, you are 50% close to success. Do you believe that? I also believe that, yes. The reason is because plan provides you a roadmap, it provides you a guide on the other things you're going to do. In our case, like project management, plan tells you what to do in execution. Plan tells you what to do in monitoring and controlling, and tells you how to close the project. So what exactly do we do in planning? In simple terms, we are trying to put in one place how we are going to execute the project, things we are going to do to have the project executed. 2, we are putting in that same document how the project to be tracked. Another word for monitoring and controlling is to track the project. So how we are going to monitor and control the project? What are the parameters I'm going to be monitoring? What are the parameters I'm going to be controlling when the project is going on? The third thing we also include in the plan is how will I close the project? If you listen to me closely, it simply means that already when you have a document to call your plan, it is an expo. Expo for execution, expo for monitoring and controlling, expo for closing. The question I want to ask, don't raise your hand, answer in your heart. How many of us have entered the exam hall in the past with a good expo? You know, see why I say you should not answer. Don't raise your hand. You understand? Coming up, every one of us have gone through the school, the highest level of school. You understand? Now, coming from all levels of schools, including the highest we've gone, we've seen situation where we had good expos. A good expo is when the lecturer, maybe in a bid of making some fast money, decided to give out the exam script to few, maybe 3 people and collect money from them. And he always sound a warning, don't let this paper go beyond the 3 of you. And these guys, we go home, take the whole night or part of the night, go through the question, consult every material they can consult, textbook, notebook, whatever, solve it very well. And then, you know, after solving it, the next effort is to miniaturize it. You know what is called miniaturization? That is converting it to microsheets. You understand? You mean because you cannot enter the exam hall with plenty papers of your already prepared answer. So you miniaturize it. That's where you discover that all of us have the gift of shorthand. You understand? So there is how we write which. You understand? CH only. Am I correct? And we know what it means. With such an expo, once I enter an exam hall, an exam of 3 hours, within a space of 1 hour or less, I'm out. The 3 of us will be out and we'll bounce out. And if it's an exam that is very difficult, our classmates will be wondering, what happened? Maybe those guys don't know what to write. They just respected themselves and walked away. I don't know if that has happened to you before. It has happened to me. I didn't know what to write. I just respect myself, submit the paper as it is, and then walk away. And you know, we are quite religious, and start praying that the lecturer will just be having some sleepless, you know, will be feeling dizzy, and will just be marking something and give you score. I think physics 103 was my case. That is relative physics. The lecturer was confused, his material was confused, the lecture itself was confused. You understand? So, and when he came to the exam, he set the toughest question I can imagine, asking us to, one of the questions was derive Einstein's equation from Schrodinger's equation. You understand? So I failed it, bottom line. I failed that course. So I had to carry it over to the following year of first semester. But of course, you know what it means when you fail a course, for it not to impact your grade, you need to have a very good score. If not, a carryover course doesn't carry the same weight as when you pass it the first time. You understand? So I was fighting very hard to see at least might get A for this score. You understand? I did everything possible. I bypassed the man's confused lecture, meaning I didn't pay attention to, because I know he won't help me, his material. I went to start digging his questions in the past to know the kind of questions he has been asking. I rather use that to prepare. Within the period after I felt I'm okay, I now started organizing a kind of tutorial for that course. The idea was, let this thing stick. And when it was time, true, I now passed it. I got an A. I've talked about a good expo. Have you ever experienced a bad expo? A bad expo is when maybe one of the office assistant or the secretary, you know, wanted to play fast. In the lecturer say duplicate these questions, is for tomorrow. And in photocopying it, she took out 1 or 2 and then collected money from students and sold it. And then the student also, the team went round across larger population of them. And then in the evening, the lecturer got a wave of it that the questions have leaked. And over the night, he changed the questions and even made it tougher. You understand? And then only for everybody to enter with confidence. You know, that kind of thing, you will not even prepare very well. You understand? You have seen the question, what is there to prepare? Only to enter and you're seeing benzene. It wasn't my case in pharmacology. I told you I have my first degree in biochemistry. One of my pharmacology exams was such a question that, it wasn't a kind of expo, but the lecturer, one of the best I have ever seen in my life, Professor Izono, you understand? When he teach you, even if your head is blocked, he will open, he will put it in and cover it and let you go. But when he set his exam, for me, that exam, I paused for a time and I was asking myself, were you in class when he was taking this course? In the exam hall, I was playing in my mind, are you sure you were in the class when he took all these classes? Because what he does, because he had practiced in the industry before coming to the classroom. So whenever he set his question, it always applied industry question. You need to think not outside the box. You need to throw away the box. You understand? To really answer his question. But let's come to it, to our plan. A good plan we give is serve like an expo. It just guides you. Everything just rolls. That's why I ask people, take time, involve other stakeholders. If you know your team members already, engage them while you come up with the plan. So we're going to cover many things in developing the plan. We'll collect requirements. What that means is finding out what the need of the stakeholders are. That is another word, finding out exactly what the specifications of the project result will be like. Because that information will help you to know the kind of work that needs to be done in the project. So collecting requirement is, in fact, is the very first thing you do as you try to plan your project. So with the information I got from stakeholder, the sponsor, about the project result, what should it look like? What should be the specifications? Once they have given me that information now places me on a better position to say, okay, to build, to get the cover to be blue as they want it blue. I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. They say they want the laptop to be touch screen. That means there should be calibrator in the screen. So what are the works that I need to do to get this specification? So what happens is that once I collect specification, I begin to now ask myself, what works should I do in order to deliver this specification, number one? And I will list the works. What works should I do to deliver this specification? I'll list it. When I do that, I will say I'm defining my scope. That's what we call define scope. So that is the second thing we do in planning. You know, when I define scope, meaning, please, the word define simply means write it out. Meaning write out the works you're going to do. Is okay. At the end of the day, I have a document containing the work that I'm going to do from beginning to the end of the project. You know, one thing that will be in my mind is, am I sure this thing is complete? That's the next thing that will be in my mind. Remember, one thing I shared with you also, I don't need this now. Techno BF7, if you can help us put off your camera, we'll appreciate it. Thank you. So once I have the list of the works, which is what we called define scope, one thing that will play in my mind is, are you sure everything is complete in terms of the works to be done? To answer that question, I will now arrange the works according to the phases where they will be carried out, so that I can just look at it phase by phase. Now the work what we do for this will be this. So when I break my project works down into phases, we'll now say you're creating work breakdown structure. I'm trying to give you a quick overview of these things involved in planning. Once I have my work breakdown structure and I validate that nothing is missing in terms of work to be done in the project, I now begin to define activities in each work. I don't know where you got that language. Define activities in each work. What does that mean? What's the difference between activities and work? Again, because if I say you begin to list the activities in each work, I'm going to differentiate them as we go on. So you define your activities. Once you list out the activities, the next thing you will do is to arrange the activities in order of implementation. We gave it a name, sequence activities. Is that okay? So it's so that you can say, okay, after this activity, the next activity is this. After this, the next one I will execute is this. We arrange it in order of execution. Once after that, you now ask yourself, what duration? What are the duration for each activity? Okay. Yes, you estimate the duration for each activity. Though before estimating duration, we need to estimate resources first. I'm going to rearrange this later on. Yes, ideally, after sequencing my activity, the next thing I'm supposed to do is estimate duration. But because if you ask me, for example, Amadi, how long will this take you to do? I'm going to throw the question back to you and say, Jane, how long are you giving? I mean, how many people are you giving me to work with? I can't answer how long until I know what resource is available to deploy. Because two people will finish an assignment faster than one person working on that assignment. Three equipment working on an assignment will finish it faster than one equipment working on that same assignment. So I cannot answer the question how long until I know what's available in terms of resources. So before estimating duration, we should estimate resources. Then we estimate duration. Once I estimate duration, okay, this one will take us 3 days. This one will take us 5 weeks. This one will take us 7 days, and the list goes on. The next thing I will now do is to come up with a document in a landscape that shows in a table activities, the duration, the start date, and the finish date. That's what we now say we call schedule. You develop your project schedule. Once I know my working timetable, that's the name I give I call project schedule. Once I know the working timetable, I begin to ask myself, how much will these activities cost? Again, you can see that I couldn't have estimated costs before now. Until I know the activities, I know, of course, the sequence of the activities. I'm going to explain why I need to know the sequence before estimating cost. Until I also know the resource available and know the duration for each activity, I cannot estimate cost. Why? If you ask me how much will this cost, I will try to find out how many people will be working. I'll try to find out how many equipment do we need, and I'll try to find out how long will the people be working there. These are elements that influences cost. Why do I need to sequence also before estimating cost? Because money for project is not all made available at once. If a project is going to cost us 2 billion, nobody will give you 2 billion. It's a risk. So usually when you sequence it, you know what we are going to be doing for the next 1 week, 2 days, 2 months, 1 month, and probably money will just be released for those ones first. With the hope that before we get those ones done, the money for the other ones will be made available. So the need for sequencing activities before cost. So we estimate cost. And of course, we determine budget. It's a very simple process that involves, if you say this one will cost 10 naira, this will cost 20, this will cost 5 naira, this will cost activities. Determine budget means get the total of the estimate. Budget is just a single figure. Budget is just a single figure. So you hear Nigeria as a country will say our budget for 2024 is so trillion, just a figure. But before we arrive at that budget, there would have been estimates. You understand? Which is what we now refer to as activity estimate. Of course, I talked about that these resources, estimate resources, supposed to come after sequencing activities. You need to plan communication. You need to know the kind of information each stakeholder is going to expecting you to get across to them. You need to also validate the method they want you to get that information across to them. So my sister here, what's the name, ma? Vanessa is a stakeholder. So I'm one of my, I have like 25 stakeholders in the project. Vanessa is one of them. Planned communication means I'll find out what kind of information Vanessa will want me to always make available for her. Maybe I also want to find out the frequency she wants those information. She may be a stakeholder and say, Amadi, look, I need just a weekly summary of this thing, this area of the project. So she wants me to report on weekly basis to her. Or she may say, Amadi, don't bother your head, just give me a monthly breakdown, I'm fine. Every month, give me a breakdown on how things went. So she wants me to do that on monthly basis. There may be some other stakeholder that say, hey, look, give me a daily overview of how things went, meaning you want a reporting every day. So I want to know what information is Vanessa much interested about this project, so that will be what I capture in reporting to her. I want to also know, how does Vanessa want me to get this information across to her? It will be quite misleading if I just assume that Vanessa is someone who like things printed and sent to her and all that. She may be someone who says, Madi, look, just send it to my mail, I'm fine. She may say, Madi, but we have a platform now, push it there. Anytime I get time, I go look at. Another stakeholder may just say, please put it in a proper format, traditional reporting style, write it, type it, print it, send me a copy. Thank God the world is evolving, right? Yes. Everywhere around the world, people are embracing technology so that those traditional styles of doing business and operating business is fast going away. So we're having a good number of people, a reduction in the number of people who are saying print it. You're likely going to hear in this day, people say, hey, why not just send it on the platform now? Me, I will look at when I get time. You understand? Some other people will say, send to my email, send a copy to my email, but never throw away the traditional method. One thing I said last week was, in managing your stakeholders, one size does not fit all. There's no one method that you can use that will work for all the individuals in your project, because they are humans and because their needs may differ, their attitude may differ, their perception about things may differ, everything may differ, including identical twins differ in all ramification. So also your stakeholders, please domicile, individualize your stakeholder management strategy. I think I like that. Individualize your stakeholder management strategy, because Vanessa is a human. You know your name again. Kemi is a human, and then Vanessa and Kemi can never view things the same way in most cases. We're also going to identify risk. We're going to carry out some analysis on risk, what we call qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis, so that we can know which of the risks we should prepare for. We are also now going to come with response strategies for the risks we've identified, and of course, we are going to plan procurement. We'll put this all in our planning. So next time you want to plan your project, this can be a guide as table of content or what to plan for. Let me go. So develop project management plan. Let me say something about plan. What you need to plan in the charter. Why? Anybody want to have view? Why is charter basically what I need? Okay, the why is there. I didn't know that I was projecting something. The charter contains some information about the project. Am I correct? Yes. So it tells you the budget. At least with the budget, I can start planning my costs. It tells you the timeline for the project, that's the duration. With that, I can develop my schedule. Even this gives you some information about the product, that is the result, the description of the project result. With that, I can begin to plan my scope, and the list goes on and on. So the information in the charter is the beginning point in terms of what you need to plan the project. You understand? When you plan your project, we try to engage other people. So one technique that works very well is a technique we call expert judgment. I introduced us to the technique expert judgment last week, right? Yeah, right? Yes, when we're talking about develop project charter. Yes. Let me just say something about it. Maybe once again, I don't know how I will say it again in the future, but if I don't, let me just say it once and for all. There is nothing you want to do in your project from beginning to the end that someone has not done before. Okay, better put, there's scarcely anything you want to do someone has not done before in your project. Any project you want to manage, tendency are that people have managed it before and they have made mistakes and they have learned from their mistakes. And you too, you can avoid the mistakes they made by relying on their opinion as they guide you to manage that same project. So in project management, we always advise, seek opinion of people who by reason of their training and experience, they are knowledgeable about whatever you want to deal with. Imagine you want to deal with the issue of costs and budgeting for your project. Maybe seeking the opinion of financial experts can be of a good guide. Imagine you're trying to deal with the issue of risk. Don't you think you should talk to people who are gurus in risk management? It's going to help. Anytime you achieve a result in your project management effort by seeking the view of someone who you think should know, and that person guides you, that's expert judgment. You're using a technique we call expert judgment. Apart from the fact that I'm discussing expert judgment in the context of project management, it applies in every aspect of life. And this is the point, this is what we always say in our local palace, that anybody where they ask question, no, they miss road. Am I correct? Be inquisitive. Sometimes it may even be that, not that you don't know, but just want to double check. One of the things I know that stand between people from seeking view, seeking opinion, consulting other people is pride, personal pride. Sometimes I feel, before Vanessa, before your mother got married, I was already running my master's program before your mother got married. You understand? I'm feeling that way, and then I'm thinking, why should I be asking a small girl like this? Whereas what I forgot is that Vanessa has her specialization in that field and I don't. Please, as you grow up in your professional life, remove age in your corporate life. We don't play age in workplace or in official relationship. If Vanessa has what I'm looking for because of her training and experience, I will ask for help. You cannot be a specialist, scarcely will every one of us be specialists in every aspect. So I know where I don't have strength. It could be that he is the one that has that strength. Acts. So personal pride is always a problem. It's always one of the hindrances to seeking view. Another hindrance to seeking view is not having your people to ask. You don't have network. One of the beautiful things is that I'm talking to a younger population growing up in career and every other aspect of life. This is my message to you. Be intentional as you grow in your career to create your network. The word, my emphasis word is intentional, meaning deliberate, meaning consciously. Let it not be accidental. You plan it. When you're intentional about building your network, you go to a party today and you tell yourself, I must connect with one person. When you're intentional about creating your network, when you're flying from here to Lagos, you tell yourself, my seatmate, I go know who he be. It means also you decide that I will find out professional association that I will belong, and I will attend conferences, and I'll attend maybe what their workshop and anything with the goal of networking. Take it or leave it. The height all of us, including myself, we go is a function of the quality of our social capital. That sounds like words of marble. So maybe you should put my name beside it. The height every one of us we go in life is a function of the quality of our social capital. Social capital means who you know, the people you know. That's what we call social capital. I believe in God. I trust in God. Everything about me is a function of God. But God uses people. If you're a Christian, you will read that even Joseph in the prison, when his prison mate was being released, he called the guy, so boy, if you come out here, no forget me. And true, the guy did not forget him. It was the guy who told the man, the king, Pharaoh, and when Pharaoh had issues, say, Kai, get this guy, why is he for prison? Oh, he helped me solve something very related. Let's call him, whether I go help. And that is how they brought Joseph out. And if you know the story, and the story was beautiful all the way long. Yes, for those of us who are Christians, we read that God gave Joseph the dream, already told him how his life will become. But God used human beings as strategic places to make sure that his plan for Joseph came to pass. So, for you to achieve your fullness in terms of what you want to be, meet people, create network, go home today, check your phone, check the contact in your phone. What the quality of it? It's not a problem, the quality is zero. Begin today to create it. If you begin today, check out in 5 years' time. If you're thinking of being in Aso Rock, remember that it will take someone who is in Aso Rock to tell Mr. President that I know Vanessa. I know it's a very good lady. I think we should appoint her. What did you study, Vanessa? Economics. I think she should be, let's bring her as the Minister of Finance. She's very, very good. Can we trust her as the president asking the person? Can we trust her? No. If it's a trust, Vanessa is one person I know is very loyal and dedicated to her work. What do you think is happening? Someone Vanessa knows is talking to the president about Vanessa. The president does not know Vanessa, and then it's okay, call her. And that's how it happens. If you remember Dora Akunyele, most of us must have been quite young when she was serving the government. As the head of NAFDAC, when she became the head of NAFDAC, based on federal character principles, she was not supposed to be, because the Minister of Health was from Southeast. And therefore, she being from Southeast shouldn't have been that she should be head of NAFDAC. But Baba, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, said, forget it. Olusegun Obasanjo, President Olusegun Obasanjo never knew NAFDAC. It was someone who worked together with I never knew Dora. It was someone who worked together with Professor Kunyili that told Baba that this one you say you want someone that can help us in NAFDAC. I know this woman. And he narrated the story of what she did to Baba. What did Dora do? Dora was giving money when she was working with one of the government agencies. She was giving money to go abroad to treat herself of a medical condition. She went abroad, they did the diagnosis on her. The medical team there told her that we can't find anything, ma. That thing you're claiming you have, we can't see anything. They did all analysis, they don't find anything. She came back and she returned the money that she was given. It was, okay, one of us have the mic on. I'm going to put you in waiting room as a penalty. You understand? She came back and she returned that money. Her colleagues were abusing her. You okay? The money has been released to you. Go and spend it on anything you want to do. And it's very easy to do that. She said no. She returned it back. Do you know many years later, that is what paid back? Apart from her good deed, somebody was there to give an account of her appointed. My message again, please make network. Most of us are in our service here. Beautiful opportunity to network. Beautiful. Make friends, good friends, and be matured about it. Your friends, what you know, a lot of time the problem sometimes we have is if I sit with a lady this in the plane and I say, hello, my name is Amadi, and I try to get across, there's an average thinking that Amadi want to, is it check me? They used to say, yes. If an average female, African female thinks that way, but I want to tell her we're all learned people. Until somebody asks you out, do not assume he's asking you out. I think that's a matured way of thinking. So as a lady, I'm not going to be assuming that Amadi is want to ask me out. Let the wanting be until he actually does. Am I correct? You understand? So I wouldn't assume because he's talking to me, maybe just trying to get across, he want to ask me out. No, take it off. That helps you to manage expectation, and that helps you to also build quality relationships. You understand? Healthy one. And guys, if you want to ask somebody out, don't play around the bush. Act out. You understand? Don't insinuate and make the lady to begin to deduce. No, I don't want deduce as a lady. If you want to ask me out, you ask me out. Am I correct? Don't dance. And again, I still talk to guys, put your emotion, and ladies, put your emotion in check. It's not for you to build multiple relations in terms of good professional relationships. You must not put your emotion. You cannot be loving, you know what I mean, romantically be loving everybody you get to know. You understand? Yes. Am I saying that there's no probability that one of these people that I get to know may not turn out to be my life partner? Obviously, yes, it can turn out. At the end of the day, we only marry from our circle of friends. I don't know whether that is true. Sociology teaches us that proximity begets friendship. You get it? So, but the point is, how many people will you build such a relationship with? One. So you wouldn't want to, for everyone you are meeting, you're trying to damage that particular network because you are allowing your feelings to get in between. That's what I mean, be mature about it. You understand? Be mature about it. I have friends, I have female friends who tell me, Amadi, be like say you know brush today. Why are they saying, what they come off your mouth this morning is not good? Did you brush? And they're not my sisters, they're my friends. And they look into your eyes and they tell you, Kemi, this your head, don't take, go do one. And you're not feeling bad about it. It's so beautiful to have people around your life who will tell you the truth. It's so beautiful. It is so dangerous to have people, to surround yourself with people who only tell you what you want to hear. You're in danger. You understand? Good friends will tell you, I've had a friend, of course, she was from one of my classes. It's somebody or a public person. Go, your teeth is not good. There are some things in your teeth. And she did not only say, go and take care of your teeth. She said, come to my clinic. Make sure, I'm not a dentist, I'm a medical doctor, but I will make sure that you don't queue up. And that same day, she made sure I did an appointment and I went. When you have friends who look at you and tell you the truth, you'll be happy. You understand? So please be careful not to allow emotions to destroy the effort. I say create network. Belong to association. We have affiliate with IOMP, International Organization of Management Professionals. 4 times in a year, they receive members. The last induction for this year is in December. Of course, none of us here that will be ready by then. You can be ready by the first quarter of the induction next year. You get it? And everyone who train with us, we nominate, and then when they send you a letter to come for membership induction, it's left to you to know whether attend their conference, attend seminar, attend whatever. You understand? In those places, you meet people. So in developing plan, don't talk too much. In developing plan, you can use expert judgment. I can ask question. Anytime I'm doing something in my plan, I'm not too clear, ask question, ask question, ask question. Brainstorming is also a technique we deploy as we develop plan. What's brainstorming? Having a group of people from different backgrounds come together to come up with a solution. The beauty of brainstorming is that people in that meeting have different background. Maybe she's from, what's the name, man? Jennifer has had her degree from Harvard. The other person from Unilag. The other person probably from Zig, and so on. Jennifer has had most of her work experience from the development sector. She has had most of her work experience from oil and gas sector. He has had most of his experience from financial sector. When you have people from different backgrounds come to a meeting to brainstorm, the quality of the result is innovation. The result is always innovative because the creativity will always be there. When she's speaking as someone with oil and gas tendencies, someone from financial, and someone from probably, what did I say you're from? He said? Development sector and all that. Is that okay? So brainstorming helps us to come up with a quality input for the project plan. You know, expert judgment brainstorming connotes working with other people. Am I correct? Yes. Anytime you work with other people to get solution, we call you to apply the relevant interpersonal or team skills, what you call interpersonal relationship skills, which is very, very important. Those skills that enables you to work harmoniously with other human beings to get what you want. Apart from the fact that I'm speaking about it on the context of project management, it is one thing, one skill, or these are skills that will also push you far in life. And very first at the top of the list of interpersonal skills is communication. How do you communicate? Don't tell me because I speak English, I can communicate. It's a lie. What about people who don't even understand English? Communication has nothing to do with the language you speak, but it has to do with the tact. It has to do with how you use that language to pass your message across. Sometimes we easily assume that anybody who don't speak English is not educated. It's not true. There are many countries and many people who don't teach English, who don't speak English. Are we going to say they are not educated? No. I'm sure the way we are assuming if they don't speak English, they are not educated. The way they are also assuming that if we don't speak their language, we are not educated. No. Education does not define who is educated. English speaking does not define who is educated or not. One thing I discovered about Tanzania is that from their primary school to secondary school, throughout their primary school, they don't teach with English. They teach with Swahili compulsorily. So in secondary school, they teach with English and French. The idea is they don't want you to forget their indigenous language. If a child goes from primary 1 to primary 6, learning Swahili, he will never forget Swahili in life. Because even after primary school, when he come to the community, come home, he's still listening to the Swahili and interacting with the Swahili. I discovered that people who speak their native language very well are very good in other foreign languages. They are usually good in English in our own case. You understand? So communication is not just I speak this language, is how do you use that language to drive home your point. It's a very important interpersonal skills. I give you an assignment, go and evaluate how you communicate. Get a model. A model means somebody who like the way he talks, she talks. Listen to them. Learn business communication. How do business people talk? Because this is where you are. That's the level in your life now. Corporate communication is what we call business communication. When we are bargaining for this, maybe I'm selling this bottled water, and I told you that the bottled water is $2.50. You understand? And then maybe the customer is asking you, that $2.50 is too much. Instead of saying, how much do you want to pay? That is not an official communication. I would rather say, what did you budget for it? How much did you budget for it? We are bargaining. Please, I want to call us to consciously begin to differentiate between domestic language, informal language, that's what I call domestic, and corporate or business language. That will also help you in your business writing, official writing, so that you know the languages we use. Very important. I know somebody will say, Amadi, leave this your writing thing. Chat GPT is there for me to help me. Remember, Chat GPT need to be used intelligently also. Am I correct? Yes, thank you. The other interpersonal skills to deploy: negotiation, emotional intelligence, decision making, conflict management, facilitating discussions. What I'm saying is, as you deploy those two above, apply interpersonal relationship skill. So the project management plan is what you will get at the end of the day in planning. Never implement your project plan until the sponsor approves it. I don't know whether you got that line. Please get it. It's a very important line. Do not start executing the plan of the project until the sponsor has seen it and baseline it. The word baseline means approve. Line at the base. Have you gone to the bank in those days? I think we still do. When you go to fill in the teller, you want to deposit money. Am I correct? After filling the teller, the booklet, the guy serving you will collect it and he will write something like a Z. You understand? Why did he do that? It's so that nothing can be added right there at the space you left. As you grow up in your career, there's a position you will get to. You discover that decisions will be made by you, and some of those decisions you need to sign it. So they submit paper to you to sign. You discover that before you sign some things, certain things that has lists, you must bring your ruler very close to the last item, rule on it before you sign. If you don't do that, maybe it's a list of people that need to be promoted, 1 to 15, and there are some still spaces under and you sign. Once you sign, they can go and add more names, and your signature will still cover it. But what I do is at the 15th name, you put your ruler and rule under the last name, and then very close to the line, you sign. That's where the concept of baseline came from. So when you baseline, when the plan is baselined, it does not only mean that it is approved, it means you cannot add or remove from the plan without coming back to the sponsor. So let me just make the point. 2 points. 1, make sure before you start implementing your plan, it is approved by the sponsor. We call it baseline. 2, once the plan is approved by the sponsor, anytime you want to make a change to the plan, get approval from the sponsor first. If the sponsor is too busy to approve or sign every part of the plan, no problem. 3 parts are most important for the sponsor to sign so that the project can start. And what is that? He must sign that part of the plan where you listed the works to be done. When he signs it to say the scope has been baselined, that is scope baseline. It must baseline the scope. You must sign that part of the plan where you indicated how the working will happen, the schedule. You must sign that schedule baseline. Also, your costs, the way you allocated it to each activity and the total must be approved. In practical, in as much as I said that when changes happen to plan, because it has been approved, get an approval from sponsor before you make those changes. In practice, in reality, most times, the areas we consult the sponsor for approval before we make change is if there is any change in the scope we want to make, if there's any change in the schedule we want to make, and if there's any change in the cost that we want to make. Those decisions are made by the sponsor. First thing planning. So what I did was to give us a quick overview of plan. So let's start talking about what is in the plan. What do you plan first? Collect requirement. First step in planning, go meet the sponsor. I know you have the project charter, all correct, no problem. But some of the information in the charter, you may not be clear to you. Never give a private interpretation to the charter. You are not the one who prepared it. Go meet the sponsor, clarify, sir, ma, how exactly do you want the result of the project to be? What and what should it include? What are the specifications that you want us to include? When you are trying to gather this, we say you are collecting requirements. Without this, you cannot do anything in the plan. Every project planning begins with you harvesting the need of the project owner. So they now begin to tell you, okay, Amadi, my desire is to have the laptop to be black, actually, because a lot of people prefer black laptops. And I know most laptops don't come with front and back camera, but I need this to have also both front and back camera. The front camera should be at least 87 to 90 megapixels in capacity. And then the back camera, if you can leave it at 120 to 130, I'll be fine. And then it should be touch screen. I don't want widescreen. Maybe 13.5 inches is okay for me. Of course, no VGA, no, I don't want VGA. HDMI, yes, 2 ports of HDMI and 3 ports of USB port to be fine. Because of what we are planning to use it for, the RAM should not be less than 82 to 85 gigabytes in size. And also I want a good battery and maybe something that can last for up to 2 weeks when fully charged. What do you think is happening here? The sponsor is giving me the requirement. I am collecting the requirement. At the end of that meeting, I'll be well informed of their need, and with that, I can be able to define my scope. Is that okay? So, how do you collect requirements? Of course, and then expert judgment comes to play. We can brainstorm also, depending on the project we are building. Apart from seeking opinion from someone you know, should know the requirement. In this case, it's the sponsor I went to ask in the last analysis, and that's my expert, because he's the one who probably knows what he wants. An expert also could be someone who have managed a similar project before like that. Another way we can collect requirement is also to have a group of people come together, and then we begin to brainstorm on what should be contained in the result of the project. We can also benchmark. You know what is benchmarking? Imagine that I want to produce, this is an Infinix phone. Maybe Samsung introduced a product. I work with Infinix, for example. That Samsung product is moving market. We, Infinix, we decided to also produce something similar to it, so that if people can't afford Samsung, they can always have our own. And they say, and at the same thing, everything 100% the same. What would I do? Think about it. If I'm to develop as Infinix, that same thing that Samsung has, the common thing I will do is I will take a copy of that Samsung product and study it. Am I correct? With the hope of, let me just do it exactly the way Samsung own is looking. So studying that Samsung own version of the product will help me to get what should be contained in my own. When I do that, I say you're using a technique we call benchmarking. So I'm benchmarking with Samsung's product. Caveat, do not benchmark product that is still within the patent period. Is that clear? You know what I mean by patent? Yes. You know, a novel product that is, maybe you're the first person bringing it to be on earth, you probably will we get a patent for it, meaning nobody can produce that thing for a certain period of time. You get it? So that's saying you cannot benchmark a product that is still within its patent period to avoid legal matters. Some project result prototype can be built in order to enable us better understand the requirement. I think architects helps us a lot with that. Once you give them a quick description of what you want, they go in, come out, and they're like, this is what you're talking about. They build a prototype for you. In IT world, we say they simulate the whole thing for you to see. You get it? So prototype can also be built, and once you have something tangible that look like what we are looking for, like a prototype, then we can now begin to communicate the complete requirement we want to be included in it. My bottom line, apart from the techniques, is you need to collect requirement. At the end of the day, document the requirement you collected, functional and non-functional requirement. Then you can define scope. The word define again means list it out. Now I know what they want, the specification. Like I told us earlier today, in define scope, all you need to do is you ask yourself, they say that it should have front and back camera. What are the works that I need to do to create those cameras? You begin to write the work you do, get down. They say it should be that the RAM should be not less than 85 gig. What work am I going to do to create that specification of RAM? So in defining scope, all you need to do is go to each requirement or specification and ask, what will be the work we go do to get this requirement or specification? It may be one work, it may be two, it may be three or more. What work we will do to achieve this particular one? What works are we going to do achieve until you're able to walk through the whole specification to get the work to be done to achieve each of them? That way, you have defined the scope. Don't bother yourself arranging it in order of execution, the works. Remember, there's a process I showed up we call sequence activities. We'll do that at that point in time. So in defining your scope, again, expert judgment comes here. You understand? And then you can do product analysis. In product analysis, you're looking at the results they want you to build, and then you are analyzing it to know the whole component. That can also be used indeed to know the works to be done. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to have your scope statement. A scope statement is a document where you have listed the works you are going to do. There may be other information in that document, but the major thing that makes us call it scope statement is that inside this document are a list of works to be done from the beginning to the end of the project. So you hear somebody say, let me see your project scope statement. It means let me see the document containing the works you are going to do. There may be other information that may be included in the scope statement, like a description of the product scope. Remember what is product scope? Another word for project, the resource specifications. So also the criteria the sponsor is going to look out for before they can accept the final result may be highlighted also in the scope statement. What are those key deliverables of the project itself? When you're building you're building the laptop, as I said earlier, what do we call deliverable? All those small major components are your deliverables. When you make the screen, it's a deliverable, it's a result. Another word for deliverable is results, but not the whole results now. So the deliverables are now the individual small results you're getting as the project is going on. When I make the camera, that's a deliverable. When I make the RAM, that's a deliverable, and the list goes on until I get the final deliverable, which is the project result itself. So the scope statement may also include the deliverables of the project and also the project exclusion. If you say that the scope statement contains basically the works to be done, Also, we try to include a statement, a comment like this. This project does not include the following. This project does not include the following. And you list out the works that are not part of the project work. It's called project exclusion. I love project exclusion because it defines expectation for us. It helps the sponsor to put a limit to what is expected from me. Try to know that this is not part of what I'm expected to do in this project. One of the sources of issue between you and your stakeholders is when expectations are not well defined. In planning, you also now, you have your scope statement like, please. You say what? Please. Are they also in the scope statement? No, not yet. Because you're still going to have activity lists. So we'll come to that. The scope statement is just the works itself. Later on, we'll decompose the works into activities. So the activities themselves are not in the scope statement because you create activity lists later on. So I have my scope statement. As I said, how are you certain that you're not omitting some important work that need to be done in the project? I shared with us the implication of your scope of your project work not being complete. If there are works you're supposed to do and you didn't include it, the quality of your project result will drop. Again, if there are works that are not supposed to be part of the project work and you include it, your budget will suffer, your delivery date will be impacted. So it means there's a need for me as a PM to make sure that my project scope statement is exact. One of the ways we do that is to put the works in a pictorial diagram in phases, what we now call create work breakdown structure. Very fast one before, so that you can quickly see what I'm talking about and we start talking about it. Distribute the work into phases. This project, how many phases do I want it to be? Maybe phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. All the works that we're going to do from the beginning of the project to the end. And I ask myself, or I have it in my scope statement, these works in my scope statement, which of them will I carry out in phase 1 of the project? I will arrange it under the phase 1. I will arrange all the work that I will do in phase 2 under phase 2. I will arrange all the work I will carry out in phase 3 under phase 3. I will arrange all the works under phase 4, phase 5, depending on how many phases, until every one work in your scope statement have been assigned to the phase where they belong in a pictorial format like this. Why in a pictorial format? Human beings are able to spot error or gap in picture as compared to as in text. We've played the game before, spot the difference. Am I correct? Yes. I think we still play it, always fun field. You understand? And then some of them are quite tricky and difficult. You need to look carefully to know that there's a pot of flour with a small red thin dot there. If you're not looking carefully, you won't spot it. But it is easier for us to spot because it's in a figure, it's in a diagram. But if I write an essay, the same essay, but just change a word to another synonym, 10 words to another synonym, and ask you spot the difference. It's a 3,000 word essay. It's going to take you time to start spotting the difference because it's in text. But when we put our work in the phases where they will happen, in a diagram form like this, we can look at, okay, no, it's something they miss. So between create guest list and print invitation, we didn't talk about develop the concept of the invitation cards. That may be, I'm giving an example. Is that okay? So please, once you define your scope, the next thing you do is, why not arrange it in order of the order where they'll be carried out according to their phases. So let's take an example of a project. Maybe some of us here are into event management. Every event you have is a project. So this couple have engaged you to manage their wedding. And then for your drawing up the WBS, you understand for it. You can actually just walk around, stretch. Is that okay? Is that okay? It's okay, right? So we have phase one, invitation, phase two, issue of feeding, phase three, the bridal issue. We stop there. I didn't put groom. Have you discovered that most times in wedding, the men are not the problem? They are not. For me, seated here, my best man didn't show up on day one. I mean, on my wedding day. He was supposed to come from Lagos. I had my wedding here. This is my 13th year in marriage. You understand? I had my wedding in Abuja here, and we've been planning. He was to come from Lagos, and on the wedding day, he didn't show up. But luckily for me, another of my best friend, Chuka, who was just few months married, came with a wife from Kaduna to attend my wedding. So I just called him and I say, guy, now you go be the best man now. You understand? And luckily the suit we're supposed to wear, that my best man was with me. You understand? So no, the shirt was with me. You understand? It was a universal dark suit. Luckily for me, Chuka was putting on dark suit. I said, guy, this thing need to happen. Remove your inner shirt, the shirt you're wearing, and wear this one. And then he changed immediately, went to the restroom of the church, changed, and then came out, and wedding happened. Let the maid of honor, that's what we call it now, right? Let the maid of honor not show up. That's a problem. That trouble will not be settled in 10 years. You don't mind me. But truly, wedding belongs to women, like we say. I absolutely agree. Am I correct? So that it is their day, it is the day of the lady, you understand? So they are always very particular about it. No, that's why we have to put her there as a face. Very important. You understand? Very, very important, except if you don't want peace. All right, so these are for phase one. These are the works we say will happen in phase one. This is phase two. These are the works we do in phase two. This is phase three. These are the works we do in phase three. You understand? So, and of course, there are numbers you're seeing there, like the project is bearing 0.0. The phase one is bearing 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. Now, it's called account of identification. It's part of the thing you include in your WBS. It enables us to track each of the elements in your WBS. For example, if your phase one is bearing an account 1.0, every work package, every scope, every work under that particular phase must bear 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. If your every work under the phase 4, if you assign phase 4 4.0, must be that work under that phase must be 4 point, 4 point, 4 point. If I see a work in this case bearing 1.18, that is the 18th work to be done in phase one of that project. Apart from this account of identification, one other thing you do when you develop the WBS is to come up with what we call WBS dictionary. What does a dictionary do for you? Let's begin from here. When you draw a map, there's always a key. Am I correct? When you draw a graph, sometimes you give us a key. Am I correct? When you come up with the WBS, the key is referred to as WBS dictionary. Dictionary gives you meaning to things. WBS dictionary is just a document where you have provided brief information about each of these elements in WBS. For example, I want to provide information for the phase one, invitation. I can tell you that there are 4 works to be done in this phase. It will last for 7 weeks. It's going to cost so amount. I will need up to 4 people to work there. And then it's expected to be completed between now and so time. I've provided you at least brief details about that phase. that element. I can go to 1.1, another element, though under the phase 1, and I provide information about that work. In this work, there are 3 activities to carry out. It will just take about 2 days to be completed and to cost so amount and all that. And the list goes on. So once you provide brief information about each of these elements in WBS, that document will now give it a beautiful name, WBS Dictionary. What is intention? So that anybody looking at your WBS, being just a drawing, can make sense of it by getting more details about what is in the drawing. That's what the WBS dictionary does for us. I've given the steps of creating WBS. It's just breaking the project down into phase and then phase into the works. So what do I do next? I define my activities. You ask me a question in that direction. So let me answer the question. What's the difference between project work and project activities? In building this house, let me create a scenario. In building this, or rather, let me say I want to rebrand this room. We don't like it. What color is this? Is it cream or yellow? I used to tell my wife that me, I no go primary school, so I don't know much of color. I didn't go to nursery school, sorry. So my 3-year-old daughter, who is our last daughter, will always, she knows color more than I do. So this is cream, we don't like it, and green. We want to turn it to pure white, everything. So rebranding this room into white is not an activity, it's work. Work, scope are made up of activities. Activity is the smallest task in work, in a work. Example, in this work of rebranding this room, there are many tasks involved called activities. 1, we are going to remove anything that is on the wall, any painting on the wall. In trying to rebrand this room, we'll remove it, it's a task. We are going to fill nail holes. Am I correct? Another task. We are going to also try to cover any part that we wouldn't want our paint to touch. We say masking those parts is another task. We are going to scrape off old paint is another task. We are going to screed the surface, another part, and the list goes on until we prime and then we paint and so on. Maybe about 6, 7, 8, 9 tasks that indeed will happen in that work. So well defined. Your project activity is the smallest task in your project work. If you put it the other way around, the project work is made up of project tasks, activities. At least a minimum of 2 works minimum of 2 activities makes up a project work. It can be up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more activities. Very important. Why we are defining activities is because the very thing you assign to team members to do every day are activities. You do this one, you do this task, you do this task, you do that task. Individuals are assigned to activities. And that is why we have to list it out, so define. Again, if individuals are assigned to activities, what's happening now? If individuals are assigned to activities, it means the point at which we release money for them to spend is on activities. If the point we release money on projects to be spent on daily basis on activities, it means estimating your costs will be on activities. How long will this task take? Activity. Estimating duration is on activities. Estimating resources is on activities. So it's important to define activities. Now you understood that an activity, a project work is made up of what? A project work is made up of what? It means if you're going to define activities, what will you do? You simply take each of the works in your work breakdown structure and further break it down to the task. Let's say, for example, print invitation is a work. What are the activities in printing invitation? One, we are going to design the invitation card. We are going to design it. Two, we are going to probably proofread the design for correctness. We are going to also now mass produce the design. I mean, the design, we are going to print it out.
Are you still using the rental phone?
And then we're going to do a finishing. One of us had a mic on. Please help us always be on watch out for that. Thank you. We're going to also do the finishing. Maybe we need to fold the invitation. You understand? We need to fold it, and maybe it's more than one leaflet. You need to staple it out. Those are finishing. Maybe about 4 activities I've mentioned just in the process. Another finishing is you need to trim it. There are edges you wouldn't want, cut it off. Those are finishing. Those are activities, about 5 we've identified just to print the invitation. So how do we define activities? Decomposition. What are you decomposing? The project work into task. And at the end of the day, what we want you to have, the activity list, what you were talking about. Meaning, forget about the list of all your activities. Go home with this. You can define activities of the project as a whole at once. Or if the project is complex, you just take it phase by phase and define. If the project is complex, I advise you, just focus on a phase. Waiting with activities waiting for this phase, you define it. And you move, and you do that and move on. After defining your activities, meaning you have the list of your activities to be carried out, sequence it. What does that mean? Arrange it in order of implementation or execution. This is the second time in your planning where we need you to put it in drawing. The first time was when you were creating work breakdown structure. The second time is when you're sequencing activities. All we need you to do in sequencing is just show us how each activity, all the activities connect to each other. Let me quickly show you a diagram to paint a picture of that. What we want is come up with something that look like this. Tomiwa, if you can help us with your mic, please. It came up. Thank you. When you sequence activities, we want you to help us in a diagram form to put all your activities in this format, in this diagram format. What are we saying with this diagram? Let me explain. I'm saying when I start, if you don't mind, you can look up, please. The very first day I'm starting execution, I'm going to carry out activity A, activity C, activity D. After activity A, the result I got from activity A and C is what I need to start activity B. So A and C should finish before I start B. Once B finish, I can begin F. Also, part of the result from C, I needed to carry out my G. After activity D is activity E. Apart from C, you can see that before C can happen, G can happen, C must have finished, E must have finished. Is that correct? Before G can happen. Once I finish F, I finish G, I finish H, that project has been completed, or that phase, if I was taking it phase by phase, that phase has been completed. Remember, this is just for illustration. Imagine having 30 activities. You need to connect all of them, how they depend on each other. It's very simple. All you need to know is once you know the activities that are starting on the very first day, others will join themselves. You know, in life, most times when we want to do something, the biggest hurdle is how to start. I don't know that I'm the only one who faces that. Yes, I face that a lot. This week I have you face that too? Eh? Is the ending that is your okay? He said his own problem is to be ending. All right. Sometimes how to begin is usually the problem, but I discovered that once you begin, it flows. Yes. I have 1,000-word document to write and send across University of East London before 12 midnight tomorrow. I never write as we speak, but it must be sent before 12 midnight tomorrow. You understand? I've been okay, where do I start? Yes, one of them is actually just a description of a situation. The other one is to write on a subject of organizational behavior. You understand? So I have not written any A. But one thing I discovered is that once I pick pen to start writing, it will just start flowing. And sometimes I'm now the one to start editing. Say they say na 500 they want to, or I reduce them to 500. So my advice for us and for myself is, when you feel you don't know how to start, just start. You understand? That's my advice. Just say, okay, if you don't know how to end, use expert judgment. I wouldn't say just end, because we don't know whether you've gotten what you're trying to get. Seek opinion whether to guide you. But for starting, just start. Don't be scared of mistakes. Mistakes are part of the process. Am I correct? Yes, it's part of the process. We make it, we learn it, we continue. So here we draw. I was trying to say that this coming up with this drawing is called, the name of this diagram is called Project Schedule Network Diagram. The short form, network diagram or schedule network diagram. The method, the technique that we use to come up with this diagram is called precedence diagramming method. Listen to the name, precedence diagram, meaning diagramming method, meaning a diagramming method that shows us how each activity precedes the other. But the diagram itself, I will add this one for my question, for my assessment. The diagram itself is called Project Schedule Network Diagram. If you want to put in a short form, schedule network diagram or network diagram. But the method, the technique that we use in coming up with this diagram is precedence diagramming method. Let me call your attention to something that is hidden in the name of this diagram. Project Schedule Network Diagram. Schedule Network Diagram. What does that mean when you say schedule network diagram? It means later on, you will discover that without this diagram, you cannot develop schedule. How? Because scheduling is in sequence. Am I correct? Monday, the week is from Sunday to Monday. It's not from Wednesday to Sunday. It's not from Wednesday, Monday, Saturday, haphazardly like that. No. The year is January to December. Schedule is in sequence. When you start your activity, today being 5th of being what? What's today? 11th of November. You cannot finish 11th November 2023. You say, hey, may we now do 3rd of November? No, it doesn't. So why we call it schedule network diagram? Because if you say activity A is finishing on the 7th of November, and activity C is finishing on the 11th of November, when will activity B start? I ask the question. I repeat so you can answer. If you say activity A is finishing on the 7th of November, example, and activity C is finishing on the 11th of November, when will activity B start? Look at the diagram and see the relationship that B has. If A is finishing on the 7th of November, and C is finishing on the 11th of November, when will B start?
January.
Somebody say 12th, somebody say 14th, somebody say 13th. Definitely, except if I give you other information that we are on break, I didn't give you. Am I correct? So automatically, B will start when? On the 12th. Because A finished on the 7th, B cannot start on the 8th. Because B also depends on C to finish. So it has, even when A finished on the 7th, we still need to wait for C to finish, which is finishing on the what? On the 11th. So as C finished on the 11th, B can start on the 12th. That's clearer, right? Yes. That's why I say look at the relationship that B has. You understand? We are getting it. Vanessa. No. Remember that this activity, this A, B, C is just to represent. I can use the name of the activities is what you should use. You understand? So my activity A could be remove all paintings from the wall. My activity C could also be that you should fill all the nail holes. My activity B could actually be screed the surface. So please use that A. Those alphabets are not really to put alphabet in a logical form. It is the name of the activities that are represented with alphabet. I could have used number. I could have also not just used A, B, so I could have used scatter the alphabet, but they represent the name of your activity. So in your own, put the name of the activity. Friends, what's my point? That once I define activities in planning, I should sequence the activities. And in sequencing activities, the technique we use, like I said, is what we call precedence diagramming method. Sorry, I have jumped. It's what we call precedence diagramming method. The second technique that we deploy is to know the dependency among the activities, your activities. Determine the dependencies. And there's no formula for it. How does your activity depend on each other? Let me ask you a question. In rebranding this room, which of these two should happen first? Scrape the old paint, then apply the new paint. Which one should happen first? It means applying the new paint cannot happen until the old paint has been scraped off. Meaning the old paint depends on applying the new paint depends on the scraping of the old paint. So once you're able to know, okay, this one cannot happen until this one finish. The nature of your activities and the result you will get, and what activity depends on that result tells you dependency. So you use the dependency information to come up with that diagram we call sequence activities. When you sequence your activities and you get something like this, we usually say that the relationship that exists among your activities is what we call finish to start relationship. It's very simple. What we are saying is that A must finish before B starts. So when you look at the arrow, you see that arrow is coming from A to B. It means A must finish before B start. B must finish before F start. If B finishes before F start, it means finish to start. So the relationship between them is finish to start. There are other hypothetical relationships like finish to finish. Finish to start means that predecessor activity, you know what we call predecessor activity? That's the activity that is preceding, that must happen before the other one. Finish to start relationship means the predecessor activity must finish before the successor activity will start. C precedes G, so C must finish before G will start. Sorry, that person have been calling, they just need to know who is that. So E must finish before H start. So the relationship that exists, that commonly exists in your, when you schedule, when you sequence your activities in this format, having your network diagram, the relationship there is always finish to start. Predecessor must finish before successor will start. So, but like I said, there are other relationships that you may hear about, like a finish to finish, meaning as B is finishing, F is finishing. As predecessor is finishing, successor is finishing. You may hear start to start, meaning predecessor cannot start until the successor starts. Those are quite hypothetical, not quite practical in most cases. But the most practical is one I explained. Predecessor must finish before successor will start, what we call finish to start relationship. Don't miss my point. This sequencing schedule, this sequencing activities is very important for what we do later on, which is develop project schedule. In planning, you estimate resources. So you can see when I was giving an overview of what we plan for, I say after sequencing, before you go into the estimating duration, estimate resources. You get it. Why? Because the duration is a function of resource available. What we call resources, help me. One, there are three. One, labor, material, equipment. So when we say estimate resources, thank you. Yeah, treated. Thank you. When we remember, you have your activities listed. So we are saying for each of the activities, find out how many people that you will need to carry it out. For each of the activities, find out what equipment and how many of that equipment you will need to carry out the activity. For each of the activities, also find out what material and what quantity of that material is needed. If you observe those three things, so if you have 20, 30, 40, 50 activities, it means one by one, allocate labor, allocate equipment, allocate material to each of them. That's what it means. Don't forget your planning, so this allocation is important. Okay, this activity, I think one person will finish this thing for me. It's not too complex. Then you move to another one. Okay, I think one printer, black and white printer, is enough to do it. We just need like that's equipment. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay. I think we'll be needing. I'll be needing 4 reams of paper to get this done. All right. That's material, right? And I'll move to the next one, and I'll find out how many people, what type of persons, what material, what equipment, and how many of those do I need, until you're able to allocate these 3 kind of resources across all your activities. That sounds like work, am I correct? Yes, it can be. It can be. It can be. Gentlemen, if you're available, it may not be this year. One of the things I want to invite you over again for is to show you how to use Microsoft Project to do all these things. Microsoft Project is a tool for doing this planning. There's a point where I will show, I will highlight that. So if you're available, because always optional, is that okay? And then usually take us the whole day. When we come by 9 at 5 o'clock, you understand? So I tell people, come with your what do you call it, lunch bag. You understand? Because it's practical. We take a project, we use Microsoft Project to schedule it, to assign resources and everything. Okay. So if you're available when we announce it, why not? You can make yourself to do that. Is that okay? Let's see how it goes. How do we estimate resources? You need to listen to me so that, because there are three. If you listen to me now, it's going to save us energy, including yours energy, because there are three estimates we make in planning project. We're taking the first one now, which is estimate resources. The second one is estimate duration. The third one is estimate cost. So those three, is that okay? So, but since they are estimate, the techniques are usually similar. So if you get it, if you don't get it in the first time I'm explaining it, you catch it up in the second time when I'm talking about estimate duration. If you don't get it there, you have more opportunity when I'm talking about estimate cost. Is that okay? Well, let's go. Expert judgment comes again. You understand? Sir, Vanessa is an expert here. I'm thinking of using two people here. That's what I'm planning. Is somebody, two people is like waste of resources, sure? Because for the number of time I've done that, one person is actually adequate. So our advice, just save your money. One person is enough. Who is talking? Someone who have handled my kind of project before many times. And she's saying that two people are like, say you won't waste money. But if you want to, no problem. But I'm telling you, one person can deliver that. There's what we call analogous estimating method. The root word is analogy. I'm sure some of us in our expression, you have said, I want to make an analogy using A, B, and C. What does it mean to make an analogy? It means to draw a comparison between two things that are similar. I cannot make an analogy between this laptop and the projector. It's not right because they are not similar. I can make an analogy between this Dell laptop and probably a HP laptop, or probably an Apple laptop. Why? Because they are all display screen devices, laptop. You understand? So when you say you want to make an analogy, you are comparing two things that has high level similarity. How does it apply as an estimating method for resources? Anytime you base your resource estimate on your previous similar project resource estimate, you're using an analog. This is how it works. Let's take labor. How many people should I assign here? And someone is saying, maybe the last time we did a project like this, we used 3 people to do this activity. If 2 people, 3 people do at that time, let's say plan to, what are you doing? You're basing your decision to use 3 people to do this activity because the last time you did a similar activity like this, it was 3 people you used and it gave you result. Anytime you base your estimate on a previous similar project estimate, we give that technique name analogous. And guess what? It's a very common technique for people who have managed project over and over and over. Because what I do is just draw lessons from the past. Hey guy, I think I used 3 persons the other time and it was okay. Let me just go ahead and use 3 people. After all, there's a principle that me also believe that say, never change what works. Do you believe in that? Never change what works. Except if you think what the change you want to bring will give us higher value. But if it's not promising higher value, leave what works. Never change it. So if 3 people gave me result that time, they finished it, then 3 people. If I use 2 equipment, then I got my result, then 2 equipment is around. That is how it works. There's what we call parametric. Para, you have paralegal. Am I correct? You have paramedics. Am I correct? You hear what do you call it? Which other one? Parastatal. You understand? When you say paralegal, what does that mean? It is not the legal itself. It is a component of the legal. Am I correct? When you say paramedical, it's not the main medical, but it's a portion of the medical. So you hear that we call people who studied other medical related sciences paramedicals. Am I correct? Yes. When you say parametrics, metrics number, it means it is not a complete number, it's a portion of the number. I'm trying to help you know where is this coming from. When we use parametric method to draw up estimate, you're using statistics. 3 people finish it 7 days. How many days will it take 4 people to finish it? 3 people finish it 15 days. How many days? I don't have 3 people now, I have only 2 people. How many days will it take 2 people to finish it? Somebody is doing mathematics. How many days now? Help me. 3 people finish 15 days. I don't get money for 3 people now. Now 2 people are going to use. How many days will it take 2 people to finish it? It can be 10 days. So let's take it together. First of all, 3 people in 15 days, right? 1 person in what days? If 3 people in 15 days, 1 person, how many days? No? 3 people in 15 days, 1 person, how many days? 45. Am I correct? If it took 3 people 15 days, 1 person definitely 45. If 1 person 45, 2 people will be how many? If it will be what? No. If 1 person 45, 2 people will be how many? It can be 30. That's 22 and a half. 22.5. The reason I said it, anytime because you see a question like this, if it takes 3 people 15 days to finish this, how many days will it take 2 persons to finish it? First of all, bring that number 3 people 15 days into 1 person equivalent before you now get your answer for what you're looking for. Why I say that? Because some of us will meet these questions, especially if you are writing aptitude tests. You understand? It's a very common question. If it takes 20 people 8 months to finish a portion of work, how many months will it take this? Will it take so number of people to finish the same portion of work? Some of us don't like mathematics at all. You see, when anything comes to number, count me out. You understand? Just count me out. Please try. The only maths most of us understand is naira and kobo. That mathematics, you don't need to go to school for it. You understand? Once it is naira and kobo, that maths is taught from the womb. You understand? So parametric estimating method is when you use statistics to arrive at your estimate. You understand? Let's know how many buckets of paints we do for this room. And then I have an information that a bucket of paint covers 15 square meter space of the wall. 15 square meter is a number. How many square meters do I have in this room I want to paint? I have 225 square meters. If 1 bucket is able to cover 15 square meters, how many buckets will I need to cover the entire 225 square meters? No, just give me an answer. Don't tell me the process you're using. No, just give me the answer. We need 15 buckets. That method you use to come to that 15 bucket, that's parametric estimating. What did you do? You use numbers, statistics. That's parametric estimating method. You estimate duration. I'll soon stop for the day. um, estimate duration. Now you know your activities, you have sequenced it, you have assigned resources to each of them. You are in a position to say, with these two people working here and this equipment, one equipment, I think 4 days should be enough for them to finish it. What you consider to assign duration is how many people will be working and what equipment are they using. Those two. So consider also the complexity of the activity in question. So I will say 3 now. Complexity of the activity, the number of people that will carry it out, and the equipment they are using will help you to determine duration. You know very well that if you say 2 people should work on this, it will take longer time as compared to when you say 4 people should work on that same. So estimate each of your activities, give them duration. What is the unit for duration commonly? The basic unit for duration is in hour. The second unit is what? In days. The third unit is in what? In weeks. Most times we scarcely work with weeks. If we're not working with hours, we are working with days for our activity. And mind you, let me ask as a question. How many hours makes a working day? Did I ask that question last week? Okay. How many hours makes a working day? Thank you for saying 8. Yeah. It's 8 hours because I was definite, a working day. On the average, we work from 8 o'clock to 4 p.m. Some of us 9 to 5. Am I correct? Global standard is 40 hours per week. 8 hours Monday to Friday. Global standard. But no go talk say, Oga, Amadi told us that 8 hours a day. Therefore, I'm closing. No, please, still adapt to the realities of your own organization. But I think the 24 hours that God gave us as a gift can be well utilized in this way. 24 hours divided by 3, what would be that? 8, am I correct? 8 hours for work, 8 hours for play, or what you call leisure, 8 hours for sleep, or what you call rest, for sleep, or what you call rest. But I prefer to use the word sleep. Because some of us, what we call rest is not rest. I can tell you, because I'm also a culprit, I can tell you what most of us do when we say we are resting. I'm trying to rest. But you are on display screen, you are on phone. You understand? Someone like me, I have a game here, it's a snooker board. That's my resting. And I'm playing the game. You understand? And some of us, our resting is, might just check what they happen for Instagram. And what I discovered about social media is addictive. Extremely addictive. So that if you're not careful, 2 hours will go, your hand is still going like this. And when you get to the end, we do like, I don't know, you refresh, am I correct? To know whether there are new feeds and all that. Beautiful. Social media is good, but it must have control. If not, it can eat time. So please, when you are resting, it's not by looking at social media, no. In fact, doctors will say, if you want to have a good sleep, keep your eyes away from anything screen at least an hour or more before your bedtime. That this radiation from the screen hinders sleep from coming. Don't answer me this question. Go and evaluate yourself. What is your average number of hours of sleep every day? Tell yourself the truth. The doctors have told us minimum 7 to 8 hours. So I'm correct when I say 8 hours for work, 8 hours for play. Play means here, I want to go to salon, I want to go to sports, I want to go to party. Anything outside sleep and work come under play. And I tell you the truth, quote me any day. If every one of us put in religiously 8 hours of our 35 years of working into working, 8 hours, there's nothing you want to be, you cannot be. 8 hours for 35 years, that 8 hours of work, you actually dedicate it to work, value creation, every day. There's nothing you cannot become if you want to be. The trouble is, we don't usually put in 8 hours every day. Check your life, your work life. Monday is coming. Take audit of it. Sometimes as you're coming from the gate, you're already eating the time. The gate man, wife just put to bed. You spend like 15 minutes with the guy at the gate. You come to the reception. Maybe the person at the reception is your football club team, team support, fellow supporter. And you're like, hey, all blues for life. Oh boy, see that match. 30 minutes, don't go. And then you go back, you go to your workstation, you have other colleagues there. You guys will first of all, so but dollar don't they follow. If I for don't say that little I get. That one will take like 30 minutes. Then you remember that, oh, I never do morning devotion, what we call quiet time, for those of us who are Christian. And then you see somebody using official company time to read his Bible or Quran and pray. Wrong. Don't call me devil. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ also. But that is wrong. And then when you try to call the person that you're not supposed to be praying at this time, they will say you're a principality. You don't believe in God. Before you know it, it's almost midday. You have produced nothing. And this, before you know it again, notification is on. WhatsApp message came up. Or if you have a notification of your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and you know how this thing goes, you respond, even if it's WhatsApp, you respond back, and all that. My advice, don't attend to social media during your working time. Somebody laugh, and I like that laughter. I like it very well. Because that laughter means many things. One of the things it means is, Amadi, you know that one is not possible. But that's my advice. Do you know how you can do that? You can decide to mute it and attend to it during your break. It's for you to produce and utilize your 8 hours very well. That laughter is the reality of all of us. Have I achieved it sitting there and talking to you? I won't assume the position of all righteousness. No. Is that clear? I'm also fighting. I'm also beating myself to see, guy, leave this thing alone. Some people accuse me, you don't respond to WhatsApp. I say because it's deliberate to focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. So, bro, in that laughter, we can put a mark and say, okay, let me improve. And we keep improving until we overcome that. It's a big deal. And again, I know because it also has to do with youthfulness. Am I correct? Yes. It's also the age most of us are in. Maybe over time, I may be better than you because of my age. Maybe I'm beginning to. I know that discipline, if intentionally done, also comes with age. Self-control, if intentionally done, also comes with age as well. But that doesn't mean that younger persons cannot also say, guy, stay first. During break, I can look at the phone. Or cannot say, when I finish work, I will know who they talk to me. You understand? One of the lines I tell people, if you send me a message on WhatsApp, if it's urgent, give me a call. I will look at. You understand? So duration is in hours. When you estimate duration, please, how do you do that? You know why I'm still seated here? Nobody have asked me that my time is up. So once I see anybody, but I will soon be done, please. Okay, is there any method that is strange to you that we have not discussed? 3 points. Yes, I deliberately asked that question. In 3-point estimate, like the name suggests, it means getting 3 different views, in this case duration. How long do you think to take? How long? What? And he said 8 days. And I'm asking, how long do you think it will take? And she said 10 days. What's the name? Spell. Trinitas. Okay, thank you. How long? She said, for me, Amadi, I think 4 days should be enough. That's 3 opinions. 8 plus 10 plus 4. How much is that? How many is that? 22 divided by 3. In 3-point estimates, seek 3 different views and find the average. But those 3 views must represent the following situation: worst case scenario, best case scenario, and what looks like a more realistic scenario. So she is saying worst case scenario, 10 days will not finish this work. She is saying best case scenario, 4 days will not finish it. And it's like, for me, I think it looks more realistic. These 3 must be represented in the 3 views before you find the average. The highest number is the worst case scenario. The lowest number is the best case scenario. And then the third one identifies itself as the more realistic scenario. You find the average. So at the end of the day, what do you have? You will have this activity will take us 6 days. This one 11, this one 5, this one 13, and the list goes on. All the activities will have their individual activity duration estimate. And please, I didn't say it the last time, but let me say it now. Anytime you make any of the 3 estimates, always tell us the conditions on which you're basing your estimate. This estimate for this duration estimate is based on the following condition. 1, that out of the 20 people needed for this project work, 15 will be from the company and 5 will be hired from outside. 2, that the following equipment that will be needed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be rented from outside, whereas the other ones will be, the company will make it available. These are conditions on which you're basing your estimate. The reason why you're stating those conditions is so that tomorrow, if any of those conditions are not fulfilled and the project is lagging behind, person no go tell you, Kemi, you are not working. You can easily say, sir, man, remember out of the 20 people that we say we'll be using for the project team, that we say we're going to get 15 from within and then hire 5 from outside. I've sent like 4 memos to hire the 5. I've not gotten approval, and this is like the 8th month in the project. And the person you're talking to, okay, no, actually, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's true. You've been working with a less number of people instead of the full capacity. That's always define the conditions on which your estimates are based on. Whether it is in the resource estimate, whether it is in the cost estimate, or whether it's in this duration estimate, we are talking about. So what do you have in plan? I'm going to likely end here today. What do you have in plan? You have defined the activities, you have sequenced the activities, you have allocated resources to the activities, you have found out the duration for each activity. You can now develop a schedule. I'm going to demonstrate that more. So let's go. I'll duplicate my screen. So how do we develop schedule? Those of us on Zoom, let me quickly share my screen again. That is this. You will help me as much as you can. I wanted it to just be as bold as possible. Let's see how it goes. What is a schedule? A schedule is just a document that contains the activity, the duration of the activity, the start date of the activity, and the finish date of the activity. What we use in developing the schedule is your network diagram. Let me call it up somewhere, whereadow.com. Let me take this guy. Let me take this, copy it. Okay. I'll drop it here. So the technique we use is what we call, to develop schedule, the technique we use is schedule network analysis. You see that schedule network I talked about? It means analyzing your schedule network. I'm going to put some information that we have already on this schedule network. Please just follow me in what I'm doing, and it will be far more faster and easier. So we have estimated duration. So let's imagine that each of these activities will have their duration already estimated. Let's put the durations there. Meanwhile, before I start putting the duration, this is how you reflect the information. This is how it is. Each of those boxes in the network diagram, this is the full detail. The activity name in the middle, I use alphabet A, B, and F and all that. On top is supposed to be the duration. Below is the float. Here is supposed to be the early start date, early finish date, late start date, late finish date. Don't worry, I'm going to explain each of these concepts to you. Is that okay? You understand? In as much as some of them, their name tells early start date means the original date you plan to start that activity. Early finish date means that originally planned date you're supposed to have finished the activity when you start early. Late start date is the date you now start an activity after you have delayed it. And when it starts late, it will finish late. So the date it will start, it will finish after. When you start late, is late finish date. Float means how much, the number of days you can delay an activity and the project delivery date will not be delayed. Play that statement. You know, ideally, if you delay an activity, you should be scared that the delivery date of the project will be affected. But we are saying the float concept means how long an activity can be delayed and the entire project delivery date will not be affected. So if I say the float of activity is 10 days, it means I can delay this activity for up to 10 days and I will still deliver my project as when they want me to deliver it. If that project was to be delivered on the 6th of January, even with this 10-day delay on this activity, that 6th of January, I will still deliver the project. That's float. That's good news, right? Good news. Float shows you pocket of areas where you can buy time with your managing project. Sometimes things just happen in project and you're like, oh boy, what can I go do? Say, hey, you, can you stop what you are doing? Let's put hand here. Why did you suspend the activities of other people, your team members? Because you discovered that what they are doing has some floats and can be delayed. But this one, I will not feel delay. Any activity that cannot be delayed in your project is called critical activity. Repeat. Any activity that cannot be delayed in your project is called critical activity. Reverse or put it in the other way. When you delay a critical activity, it delays the delivery date of the project. Let's go back. So please, all this was just to show you full schedule information of an activity in the project. So when I ask you, what are the schedule information that a typical project activity should have? You will say it should have the activity name, it should have the activity duration, it should have the activity float, it should have the early start date, the early finish date, the late start date, and the late finish date. Let's go back to what we're trying to do. That is what? Develop what? Develop schedule. So we've already estimated duration, so let's put duration. Let me just copy anything and form something. All right. Let's call this guy that the duration for activity A, let's call it 6 days. 6 days. Please, I'll just use D to represent days. Let's call this guy 11 days. Let's call this guy 5 days. Let's say that we estimated that B will take us 15 days. Let's also say that what the duration we assign that F will take us is 10 days. Imagine that G will take us 3 days. Imagine also that E will take us 2 days. And imagine that H is going to take us maybe another 5 days. Mind you, the technique for developing the schedule is what? The technique we use is what? Schedule network analysis. That's what I'm trying to do. What is analysis? When we say schedule network analysis, means analyze that network diagram in order to come up with your schedule. Analysis means getting information that will help you do something, make a decision. Is that okay? So for you to do that analysis, the only information you need in that schedule is the activities and their duration. That's all. What analysis do I want to do? 2 analyses. 1, I want to find out the critical activities, and I want to find out the float for each activity. Those are the 2 analyses, and I'll be fine to develop my schedule. 2 analyses. 1, the critical activities, and 2, the float for each activity. What's a critical activity? What did I say it is? An activity that cannot be delayed. I put another way, activity that if you delay it, it will delay the project delivery date. That's critical activity. You understand? So how do you find out the critical activity? Please, you need to pay close attention to me to get, because there are it's analysis we are doing. It means we play with data here. How do you find out the critical activities? To know the critical activities, find out the critical, which of the parts on the network diagram is a critical part, P-A-T-H, part. What we call part is when you follow a direction of arrow from start to finish. That's a part. Example, start, A, B, F, finish. That's a part. Am I correct? Can you write for me so that you can help me? Right. I'll round up, Jay. Okay, give me just 5 minutes, I'll round up. I need pen. Okay, thank you. Sorry, write for me, start. Let's say that's a part 1, right? Write it somewhere. Write it P1. Angel, this is know the word. P1 is start. Remember, I say, okay, get it clear. I'm trying to show you how to know the critical activities. And I answered by saying, if you want to know the critical activities, just find out the critical part. So what we're trying to do is to sort out all the parts so that we can know which one is the critical part. Is that okay? So, and part is P-A-T-H. And what do I call part? When a string of activities from start to finish on the network diagram. You understand? So, and I interpreted it to mean once you follow the direction of arrow on your network diagram from start to finish, that's a part. So let's take part 1, P1 to be start, hyphen A, hyphen B, hyphen F. That is finish, hyphen finish. Let's call part 2, our part 2 to be start, start hyphen C, hyphen B, hyphen F, hyphen finish. Let's all call that part 2. Please don't mix it up so that we can be speaking the same language. Part 1, start, hyphen A, B, F, finish. Part 2, P2, start, hyphen C, B, F, finish. Let's go to part 3. Part 3, start, hyphen C, hyphen G, and then finish. Am I correct? Let's go to part 4. Start, hyphen D, hyphen E, hyphen G, hyphen finish. Then the final part, part 5. Start, hyphen D, hyphen E, hyphen H, hyphen finish. What's your part 3? CG, finish. What's your part 4? Part 5. Part 1. Part 2. So if you want to know the critical part, first of all, get all the part out. Then the second thing you do is get the total duration for each of the parts. Let's do part 1. What's the total duration of part 1? What is the duration of A? 6 plus duration of B, 15, that's 21, plus 10, duration of F, that's 31. So the total duration of part 1 is 31 days. Am I correct? Let's go to part 2, 11 plus 15 plus 10. What's the total duration? 36 days. Awesome. Let's go to part 3, 11 plus 3. What's the total there? 14 days. Awesome. Let's go to the other one, 5 plus 2 plus 3. What's the total? 10 days. Awesome. Thank you. Let's go to the next one, 5 plus 2 plus 5. Am I correct? What's the total? 12 days. The part with the highest total duration is the critical part. I repeat, the part with the highest total duration is the critical part. Which part is that? Part 2. What are the activities there? What are the activities there? CBF. What you are simply saying is that activity C is a critical activity. Activity B is a critical activity. Activity F is a critical activity. Once you find out the critical part, all the activities on that part are the critical activities of the project. Application: when you are implementing or executing your project, these activities must finish as scheduled. If you allow them to spill beyond the dates they are supposed to be completed, the entire project will be affected. Take note of this. The critical part also tells you total duration for the entire project. This project is going to last 36 days in total. Once you know the total duration of the critical part, it tells you also how long that project will take. Wow, that's good. So from this analysis already, you can confidently say, we're going to spend 36 days managing, running, executing this project. What is your attitude towards critical part? Once critical activity, Once you know, I can't delay them, you begin to see that when I'm executing activity C, even when I see that people are saying things they go bad, I begin to see whether I can add more hands, whether I can even work extra time just to ensure that it does not go beyond 11 days. Is it easy to find out in your project if in your own? Is it very simple to find out? Is it very simple to apply your own project? Can you? Once you know the activities and their duration and you sequence the activities, you can know your critical activity. That's all. How? Just find which of the parts in the network that you're sequencing that is the highest in number. That's all. Let me quickly take you to the second thing. How to calculate floats. You may want to write it somewhere to remind you. Just write how to calculate floats. I also have it in the note I sent, the steps, but just write how to calculate float. Step 1 and step 2 is the same as in critical part calculation. Write it just like that to remind you. Step 1 and step 2 is the same as in critical part analysis or calculation. What's step 1 of critical part analysis? Step 1 is identify the parts. That's what we did first, right? Step 2 was find the total duration for each of the parts. That's what we did also. We have done that. Step 3 is a long formula I want to give you now. Subtract, right, the total duration of each part from the part with the highest total duration. I repeat again. Subtract the total duration of each part from the part with the highest total duration. Subtract the total duration of each part from the part with the highest total duration. Full stop. Continue writing. Start from the part with the highest total duration. Continue writing. Start from the part with the highest total duration. Start from the part with the highest total duration and retrogress. And retrogress. 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 You know what is retrogression? Start from the part with the highest total duration and retrogress. Retrogress is 10, 9, 8, 7, and continue, descending. So read it together. The formula for float, subtract the total duration of each part from the part with the highest total duration. Start from the part with the highest total duration and retrogress. What are they saying? In school, I remember some of the mathematics topics that you need to understand English first before you can solve it. Example, probability. Example, set. You understand? If you don't understand English, you cannot even attempt it. I think that's the case we have here. Let's interpret it. Each of the parts will be subtracted from where? From the highest. What's the highest? 36. But we have an order of doing it. Where do we start from? From that same 36. Am I correct? Because start from the highest and retrogress. So the first float you will find out is the one, the highest. Yes, sir, please, just 3 minutes. 36 minus 36, 0. That is, the float for that part, which is part 2, is what? 0. So you go to that part. I will end here. I'll meet you next class because I think it's no more effective. Yeah, it's no more effective. All right, thank you. I will just continue from this point till we meet again. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next class. Thank you. Those of us on Zoom, please I think we're now having a kind of negative feedback. That's why I needed to just stop. We'll continue at this very spot next week so that we can tidy it up. Thank you. If you didn't put your name on the WhatsApp, on the chat group, please kindly do so. You permit me to get this class off so that planning. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you. That'll be the end of the meeting for my own session. God bless you all. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe.